Actor Zachary Levi recently said at a comic convention, quote, "I personally feel like the amount of content that comes out of Hollywood that is garbage, they don't care enough to actually make it great for you guys. They don't." Well, that's an unfortunate choice of words. Oh, Zachary. Zachary. You spoke the truth, but you forgot what movie you were just in. Actor Zachary Levi made several comments about the state of Hollywood at the Chicago Fan Expo. I'll repeat what he said, quote, "I personally feel like the amount of content that comes out of Hollywood that is garbage, they don't care enough to actually make it great for you guys. They don't." You do realize that the movie you were just in was panned by the critics and audiences alike, right? I mean, I'm sure you're not talking about Shazam: Fury of the Gods, but I hope you realize that everyone else is thinking about that movie when you say this. I watched the movie. I wanted to like it, but it wouldn't let me. Every time I kinda got into it, someone would drop a pointless, unfunny one-liner like they were rushing through a book of Josh Whedon Mad Libs. Every serious scene in the film but for two, Billy talking to his foster mother and a certain character's death, was ruined by some goofy joke. The result? There was zero tension because nothing was serious. There's a point where Lucy Liu makes fun of Freddy's disability. She's nasty and cruel about it, and that would have been a great moment to show how important being able to change into Captain Marvel Jr. is for Freddy. It could have played on the moment from the first film where Freddy admits that he's jealous of Billy because Billy gets to become a hero and have this perfect body. That's completely dodged so that Freddy can make a Destiny Child's joke about a song that came out before the actor was even born. All the charm of the first movie was lost. You're just being pelted with constant jokes. Billy Batson's in the movie for about 6 minutes. We get nothing about the characters' lives outside of little anecdotes. The movie feels like someone's just following a formula and plugging in the necessary characters and plot contrivances. Would I call it garbage? No, but it's not a great film. It's just a typical Hollywood movie, and that leads into Levi's second point, quote, "How many times do you watch a trailer and go, oh my god, this looks so cool, and then you go and see the movie and it's like, this is what I get?" I wouldn't apply that to Shazam 2. The trailers were pretty honest that the movie would be a bit of a mess. However, Levi isn't wrong that Hollywood does do that trick where they take all the cool scenes from a movie, cram them into the trailer, and then when you see the film, you realize how much the trailer left out, assuming there was anything there to begin with. I'm looking at you, Sucker Punch. Part of this is just the art of making a trailer. You make it exciting and interesting even if those are the only cool scenes in the film. The other part is to get your butt into the seat, like Levi says, quote, "They know that once you've already bought the ticket and you're in the seat, they've got your money," Levi said, adding that meaningful change will only arrive if crowds don't turn up for what he feels are low-quality releases. "The only way for us to change any of it is to not go to the garbage," Levi remarked. "We have to actively not choose the garbage. It'll help. It'll help a lot." Again, you do realize what you were just in, right? Also, that's not how Hollywood works. They won't stop unless something bombs right out of the gate or something huge tanks, and you'll probably need a couple of those. If neither of those happen, Hollywood will keep making movies until they bleed the genre dry. The moment people start avoiding films, it's already too late. Hollywood's already had its way. That's why the films are bad. They're just pumping them out as fast as possible to squeeze out them last pennies before they move on to something else. This is exactly what's happened to the MCU. Originally, they were just putting out movies, then Marvel Studios formed a plan, put Kevin Feige in charge, and set out to execute that plan, which did well, but quickly developed into a formula they could apply to all their movies and shows. People noticed it, but tolerated it because the story was building to Infinity War and Endgame. However, after Endgame, the formula wore off. People needed a break, but Papa Disney still wanted that MCU money, so they just kept pumping stuff out, and now people are tired of the same formula. Ironically, after spending years trashing the DC films for being too dark and serious, that seems to be what the MCU fans want. Not bleak like Batman vs. Superman, but something with genuine stakes that isn't wrapped in goofy one-liners, but well-timed humor. Basically, they want classic Simpsons. What they're getting is modern Simpsons. Now, I don't have to go through any of that directly because I don't watch the MCU stuff. However, this does bleed into other films, like Shazam and Black Adam, proving that we all must suffer. But this is what Hollywood does. It's how it makes its money. They put out garbage because it sells. They know you'll go and see it. Keep in mind, most of the people working on these movies aren't thinking like that. Some of them know when the show isn't that serious and it's just being pumped out, but plenty of times people are trying to make a solid, enjoyable movie, while the studio execs are just trying to fill the slate. They don't care about the movie as long as it makes money. Sometimes that works for the film because the studio will leave the cast and crew alone, which lets them do their own thing without tons of interference. Other times, the studio might be so involved controlling every little thing that it makes the movie terrible. Disney's Star Wars comes to mind. That's the sad part about this. You have people who want to make quality shows, but they're working in a system that's built on making a quantity of shows. It'd be nice if they were all well-told, thought-provoking stories, but Hollywood is happy to sell for third-rate popcorn flicks as long as they bank at the box office. They will crank those out, even if they're expensive, like the MCU films, until they no longer make money, and then you will have no chance in hell of making another movie in that genre unless you got some knee pads and a tight head game. We saw that happen with Westerns. Hollywood worked that genre to the bone. People eventually got tired of it for a variety of reasons, but Hollywood's schlock was definitely a factor, and for years you couldn't get a Western made. Then we got a little resurgence in the 90s that Hollywood abused again and wore it out in a couple of years. It happened again in the mid-aughts. Same way. Hollywood tried to get as many movies and shows out as possible and then burnt it to the ground. The reason this works is because people do want to watch this stuff. Westerns aren't as popular as they used to be, but there is still some audience for that genre, so if Hollywood makes a show or movie, some people will watch it, and if enough people do, it might become successful, even if the show or movie isn't that good. And no, the studios aren't going to try to make better shows and films just because something popped with an audience. The quality is less relevant than the money that comes in. If they can keep making money, they will greenlight whatever and spend as little money on it as possible. It's only when they're not sure if it'll pop that the studios get precious about the quality of the film because they might not make their money back. This is also part of the reason for the garbage movies. If they're successful, studios can use that money to make the quality movies that people say they want but rarely go to see. The studios are just using people's bad habits as a marketing tool, which is honestly a brilliant business move. They can bank on the positive critiques of their niche films and then market new movies as starring that guy from that critically acclaimed picture nobody saw, or directed by that guy whose movies you only watch in film school. It's all about getting your money. Zachary does have a point that Hollywood will make what sells, so if everyone goes to see garbage movies, that's what Hollywood will make. However, Hollywood is also a business, and many businesses work from a quantity over quality model. Just going to see the quality films, which is somewhat subjective, won't prevent this. Hollywood will just pump out those films, and eventually the movies will get watered down or become formulaic, and you're going to wind up with the very garbage movies you were trying to avoid. And to be honest, we need them, because some of those garbage movies will make the money that'll be used to make the movies everyone likes. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.